your favorite DK Sportsbook plays. So, first base, Kenny, which favorite are you backing tonight?
I am backing the Houston Astros at the relatively cheap price of -155. Yes, they are on the road, but they are playing the Seattle Mariners, team that is really just struggling at this juncture in the season. 20th in WRC Plus in August. The Astros just continue to hit the baseball. They've got one of the hottest hitters in the league, in Yordan Alvarez, and Luis Garcia coming off a fantastic performance against the Kansas City Royals, a high strikeout upside type of guy. And the Seattle Mariners have been punching out a whole lot at the plate. I think this is a pretty good price to pay on the Houston Astros, and I would probably slate them as a little bit bigger favorites. They went through a little bit of a lull here, but coming in here against the Seattle Mariners, Chris Flexen, he's shown that maybe he's a little human over the last few starts. He also, you have to deal with the xERA being a little bit higher than ERA. So I think that there's just a lot working against Seattle, and I like Houston as a medium short favorite.
Okay, Matt, favorite you are backing tonight?
So there's been a decent amount of line movement in this Phillies-Nationals game towards Washington. I think the Phillies were as high as -170 or 180, and now it's 150. I think the expectation is that JT Realmuto, who hurt his ankle, and Didi Gregorius, who I think is on paternity leave, the expectation is that they both won't play. So if they're both in the lineup somehow, I think the Phillies are too short of a price there, but they both could be out, so that kind of makes this moot, and then the line probably is just fair. So in that scenario, I think that my favorite on the slate is the Brewers, who just have such a significant pitching advantage with Corbin Burns going up against Johnny Cueto. And I think the Giants are just kind of overvalued. This has burned me all year because the Giants are so far ahead of expectations, and now they have Chris Bryant on their team. But I still think that this is an overvalued team generally. So even at home, I think the Brewers should be a bit more than the -140 that they are now.
Matty, we will head to second base now. Which underdog are you backing?
We're still waiting on news here, but if Shohei Ohtani is on the mound for the Angels, I like them a decent amount against the Yankees at +125. I don't think Kluber will be available to pitch for that long in this game. The Yankees bullpen has struggled a bit, and they're especially reliant on Jonathan Loaisiga lately, who pitched yesterday. He doesn't generally pitch he doesn't pitch back-to-back days. That isn't a thing he's done recently at all. So the bullpen could be a little weaker, but this is more about how the line right now is kind of just guessing as to who the pitcher is. And if it's not Ohtani, we'll see this line go up dramatically where the Yankees are much bigger favorites. But I think if Ohtani is the pitcher tonight, we'll see this at closer to pick'em. So +125, I think, is a value, assuming that Shohei Ohtani is the pitcher for the Angels.
All right, Deuce, which underdog do you like?
Yeah, let's get down on the Atlanta Braves at +180. This is kind of crazy because when you think about the way that the things have crumbled for the Los Angeles Dodgers against left-handed pitching. Yes, Drew Smyly on the hill, and he's not the guy that inspires the most confidence, but the Braves did bring him in, for a reason, because he showed some sort of life in his peripherals. And, when you look at this matchup again, the Braves, as Matt mentioned, the Giants, they did just take 2 of 3 from the Giants. I tend to believe that was impressive. Maybe they didn't beat the best team in baseball, but look, their offense is really heating up. I think that there's a lot to be said for it. And Julio Urias has just been a little bit inconsistent. They have a lot of right-handed bats now that can mash lefties. And I think that's where this line comes from. Atlanta all season long, not good against lefties, but at the deadline, they got plenty of right-handed power bats. Jorge Soler's heating up as well. So I think that the Braves should be getting a little more love here.
Matt, what do you think? Favorite run line bet?
The Orioles in general, we mentioned on the DFS segment, I think are just generally undervalued. So it's a bit of a reach probably to want to take them on the money line. I do think the run line here makes some sense for them, +1.5 at +140. It's just that Robbie Ray's been so good lately that the line does seem inflated, both in terms of the total and then also the money line, which has moved up quite a bit since it opened at around -300. It's moved about 30 cents. So I think that the Orioles just across the board provide a little bit of value here. It's a bit safer to go with the run line, that they keep this game close. But this is just more about fading the recent performance of a pitcher who is generally inconsistent, but is coming off 2 of his best starts of the year. So I think the Orioles could score some runs here and keep the game close.
Take us home, Matty. Favorite game total on the slate?
I think both of these will kind of need to wait to see the lineups, but I like the over in the Atlanta-LA game if Max Muncy plays. Like, the difference between Will Smith and Austin Barnes is significant. So Will Smith being in is better for run scoring. But the Muncy versus Pujols dynamic, I think, is the most important thing with this Dodgers lineup. Pujols tends to just be in there because of the platoon advantage. But I think the Dodgers are smart enough to know that Smiley is not your typical lefty. So with a more neutral split, they may just keep Muncy in there. And then I do like the over for that game because I just think both offenses are a little bit undervalued based on their recent performance, especially the Dodgers, who have struggled to hit lately. And then the other one, I think the under in the Colorado-Texas game, especially if Trevor Story's leg injury keeps him out of the lineup. But I think those offenses just overachieved a bit recently. The Rockies are outside of Coors Field, so should be a lower scoring game, I think, than the 8.5 total implies.
All right, Kenny, it's time for you to taco about it.
Yeah, I like another over here. I don't know if this counts as the night slate. It's a 640 game, but the over 9 in the Reds-Cardinals game, you got John Lester, who don't know how he still has a job, and Luis Castillo pitching. Both of these offenses in August, top 10 in most offensive metrics. You've got the Cardinals coming in at 5th in WRC plus in this month, and the St. Louis Cardinals, right? They should be able to get to Luis Castillo. I know he's improved drastically. The velocity's come back on the fastball. He had a terrible start to the year, great finish, but he's shown in recent starts, he's human. He's not unbeatable. Look at the other side with John Lester. The amount of players on the Cincinnati Reds that have insane numbers against John Lester. I mean, Genie Suarez has 6 homers in his career against John Lester. He's hitting 372 off him. These guys know John Lester. They can rake John Lester, and I don't think that this is a very good spot to take an under. I think there should be plenty of runs scored, and I think it's going to soar over the total.